Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Veronica Lane, Director of Training at Veronica Lane Consulting, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. In this session, we're exploring one of the most transformative leadership tools there is, storytelling. Now, if you've ever led a project, you already know that facts and figures are essential, but here's the truth. On their own, they rarely inspire action. They tell people what's happening, but not why it matters. Storytelling is what bridges that connects logic to emotion, data to meaning, and information to inspiration. So as you listen, I invite you to think about your own leadership journey. When was the last time you used a story to make a point, to persuade, motivate, or even build connection? If it's been a while, that's okay. By the end of this session, you'll have the framework to do it naturally and effectively. All right, let's get started. Let's start with the why. There's actual science behind storytelling. When you share data, the brain processes it through logic, one narrow pathway. But when you share a story, it lights up multiple regions: language, sensory experience, memory, emotion, empathy, imagination. That's why people remember stories long after they forgot the slide deck. Stories make information stick. They also build trust. They lower resistance to change, and they help teams and stakeholders connect with the purpose behind the project. I want you to think about a moment where data alone just didn't land. Maybe you shared metrics or timelines, but people still weren't on board. Then, someone else shared a story, maybe about the customer or a lesson learned, and suddenly everyone got it. That's what storytelling does. It humanizes leadership. It moves people from compliance to commitment. So as leaders, our job isn't just to manage the work, it's to connect the why. Now that we know why storytelling works, let's talk about how to build one. Every great leadership story has three parts: context, conflict, and resolution. The first one, context. That sets the stage: who's involved, what's happening, why does it even matter? Give just enough detail to help people see themselves in the situation. 2. Conflict. This is where tension or challenge enters. Every great story, even in business, has a problem to solve. It might be a missed deadline, a difficult stakeholder, or a shifting goalpost. 3. Resolution. Show how it was overcome. What was learned? What changed? What was achieved? That's it. Context, conflict, resolution. A simple structure, but it is powerful. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I was managing a large project when suddenly I was faced with a 20% budget cut halfway through the execution. Now, I could have told my team, we have less money, adjust accordingly. But instead, I said, this is our opportunity to rethink how we deliver value for them. We've been challenged to do more with less, and that means innovation just became a part of our project plan. That shift from obstacle to opportunity changed everything. People leaned in, they brainstormed, they cared again. The facts didn't change, but the story did. So when you face a challenge, ask yourself, how can I tell this story in a way that inspires action rather than resistance? If you're listening right now, I'd love for you to think about one challenge you've had on a project, something tough but meaningful. How would you tell that story using context, conflict, and resolution? You might want to pause the recording for a moment and jot down a few thoughts. The more you practice reframing events as stories, the more naturally this skill becomes part of your leadership toolkit. applying storytelling in project leadership. Now that we've built the foundation, let's look at where to apply storytelling inside your role. Stories belong everywhere in project leadership, not just at the start of the presentation. Here are a few examples. Team kickoffs. You can use a story to set the tone and share your why. Executive updates. Use short stories to give meaning to the data. Stakeholder conversations. Share stories to bridge perspectives and to build empathy. And lessons learned. Turn post-project recaps into stories that teach and inspire. Every one of those moments is a chance to replace "here's what we did" with "here's why it mattered." Let's make it practical. Imagine you're presenting a project dashboard. The data tells what happened. Your story tells why it matters. That's where your influence grows, in the why. If you're listening and thinking, where could I apply this week or even next week? Maybe it's your next team meeting or your next stakeholder update. Choose one situation, one moment where a story might help people lean in instead of tuning out. Because when you lead through story, you transform updates into impact, turning challenges into opportunities. Now let's go deeper. How to turn hard moments into leadership stories. Our best stories don't come from perfect projects. They come from the ones that tested us, where we had to adapt, grow, and lead through the uncertainty. Every obstacle can become a leadership narrative. Instead of saying, "the deadline was missed," you could say, "we learned how to prioritize under pressure and still deliver meaningful results." Instead of "the budget was cut," you could say, "we found creative ways to deliver more with less." That's not spin, it's perspective. Leaders who master storytelling don't hide problems, they reframe them. They show teams what's possible on the other side of that challenge. Here's a quick mental exercise. Think about one challenge your team has faced. Maybe it was scope creep, shifting priorities, or even burnout. Now, imagine you're telling that story to a new project manager you're mentoring. What would that lesson be? That's your leadership story. It's not about pretending things are easy. It's about showing what's learned through the process. That's how resilience becomes part of your team's culture. And that's how storytelling transforms project management into project leadership. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Your story is your leadership superpower. Facts and figures can depend, but the story tells them why it mattered. Stories build trust, they strengthen alignment, they accelerate momentum. Every leader has stories worth sharing, even if you haven't told them yet. So as you lead your next meeting or presentation, ask yourself, what story could I tell to inspire confidence, connection, or even action? When you start leading through story, you don't just manage outcomes, you manage the environment. You're creating that environment where people feel seen, valued, and motivated to give their best. Thank you for joining me for the power of storytelling in project leadership. I'm Veronica Lane, Director of Veronica Lane Consulting, and I hope this session has given you tools, insights, and inspiration you can use right away. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love you to connect with me through Veronica Lane Consulting. You'll find workshops, masterclasses, and experiences designed to help leaders turn process into purpose and data into impact. You can visit veronicaLaneConsulting.com for upcoming sessions or join us in person at Buffet Project Leadership Intensive. Until next time, keep leading and keep telling your story.